Hello, everyone. It is me, Danielle J. Mitchell, your up-and-coming queen of real estate, and I'm here for another episode of Tuesday Tip at 2.
Well, hello there. It is me, Danielle J. Mitchell, queen of real estate, social media extraordinaire, and it has been a time. And I really wanted to take time. I wanted to make sure that I am giving you pertinent information and all that fun stuff. But listen, it has been a lot going on in these real estate streets and these America streets. All right. I had to give you guys an updated one because we need to see what is going on. And a lot of people are having concerns, right? We are in an age where the government has changed and people are having concerns in regards to what's going to happen, what is next, what does that mean for me buying a house or selling my house? And so I want to give top 10 signs that the housing market is taking a turn. And I'm going to tell you, we might be in a couple of them. But have no fear, because guess what? When they go low, you buy a house low, okay? You buy it for less. If my housing market crashes, you get a house for less money. If the stocks crash, you buy for less money. So don't fret, don't fear, just pivot. But we're going to go through the top 10 signs that the housing market is in a crisis. Let's start with number 1. But wait, before we get there, I need to let you guys know I am a licensed realtor. I service Philadelphia and the surrounding suburbs, and that will be Montgomery County, Chester County, Delaware County, all the fun counties, okay, Montgomery County. And listen, if you're interested in buying or selling, you can go ahead and click the link as pictured here, as seen here. Click the link, okay? Click the link today, book.djmrealtyco.com, and schedule your buyer, your seller, investor consultation. I'm here for you. So let's start with sign number 1, okay? Sign of the times. Skyrocketing home prices. If home prices rise much faster than wages and inflation, it can indicate an unsustainable bubble. Conversely, if prices plummet suddenly, it suggests a market crash. Of course, in the last several years, we absolutely have observed housing prices rise. And what did they do to balance that? Because it was the inflation for home prices was just going at a fast rate and way too fast. They adjusted the interest rate. So you saw that historical interest rates that we had maybe back in 2020, 2021 start to shoot back up and really go back to where we were already on the trajectory of getting to, which is in that 7 interest rate. Okay. Now, sign number 2, high mortgage rates and reduced affordability. I just mentioned that. All right. I'm reading this. Rising interest rate make mortgage more expensive and pricing out buyers. If affordability reaches record lows, demand will drop, slowing down the market. Again, unfortunately, one of the things that has to happen and that these economists attempt to do in our administration is try to balance things out. So at a time where we saw home prices skyrocket 20, 30, 40, 50%, 100% over the housing market at a rapid rate, what they tried to do was make interest rate hires to slow things down. And that did help to slow things down, but it could also be a little bit scary for those who were also priced out because we do have still low inventory, okay? And that's also what causes pricing of homes to skyrocket because there is called supply and demand. Let's go to sign number 3. Sharp decline in home sales. A significant drop in pending and closed sales suggests buyers are backing out due to economic certainties or high costs. Yes, that is something that can happen. We have not seen a sharp decline in home sales. We are actually still very much steady as far as home sales. What's making it really slow down a bit is people are not selling their homes as quickly to keep up with, again, the demand. Sign number 4, rising foreclosure rates. Now, this is where it starts getting real sticky, tricky. The other three, you have your ebbs and flows. As long as you don't see anything drastic, it's pretty much okay. But when you start seeing number 4, Houston, we have a problem. Increasing defaults and foreclosures indicate financial strain on homeowners. And some of these next signs we're going to talk about has to do with the financial strain signs. This often happens when people bought their homes at peak prices can no longer afford the payments. Now, this is something that happened in our 07-08 housing crisis. And we have, well, not we, because I wasn't a part of it, but our administration and the powers that be put things in place so that it doesn't happen again, as far as outlandish loans, interest rate terms, all that stuff. And so they put things in place where it can't happen from a lender side where they're just over lending to people, which cause people to have a financial strain. In this case, what can cause a financial strain is just economics. Eggs. Everybody's talking about the price of eggs. That's one thing that could price you out of being able to afford your home. And I'm going to talk about some other signs that can be under the umbrella of financial strain. The preceding, no. Number 5, excess inventory and longer days on the market. Now, let me tell you something. Depending on where you are, what area you are in, you may have houses that are on the market longer, but overwhelmingly, houses are still low in inventory. So they're not staying on the market that long. Maybe longer than 2020, 2021, where before it was like one day. But I'll tell you, in some areas, and depending on the house, you have properties that are staying on the market 1, maybe 2 days. Now, in other areas and for some houses, this is why location matters. And this is also why the condition of a product or a home or property matters. Because in some pockets and for some homes, these houses are flying off the shelf still. But in other pockets and for some properties, they're staying on the market. Okay. So it's really a balanced view. It depends on where you live. And that's all I'll say about that. Now, let's talk about sign number 6, a decline in new construction activity. Like I said, around Philadelphia and the surrounding suburbs, new construction is definitely available, happening, and in high demand. So we're good there, at least locally on that front. And I believe I could say for nationwide, nationwide is on your side. No, I believe that nationwide we're doing okay. Sign number 7, declining home equity and negative equity growth. If home values drop, owners may owe more on their mortgages than the home is worth, increases financial distress. Now, this is why this reason here is why when all the inflation of homes was happening in 2020 and 2021, they started to bring those rates high to start to lessen how many buyers are able to buy, because they didn't want people to be upside down in their home purchases. During that time, people were buying houses 30, 40, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, in some extreme cases over market value. And so inflation was a real thing. And so that was one of the things that definitely happened during that 07-08 era, where people were upside down with the houses that they purchased. So we definitely want to make sure that we are not inflating these home prices, so that when they go to sell their property in five years, that they're able to not only pay off whatever they owe, but also walk away with a couple of dollars, which if we're inflating home prices, that's not going to happen. Sign number 8, increased rental demand and soaring rents. Now that is absolutely happening right now, at least in the Philadelphia region. When people can't afford to buy, they turn to renting, driving up rental prices and demand. This often leads to a housing shortage and affordability crisis. What I will say about this, especially in the Philadelphia area, and those who are, utilizing Section 8 or Philadelphia Housing Authority, they have incentives for landlords to be able to collect rent or accept rent from those who have Section 8 vouchers. And I will say it's definitely made it a lot more competitive, which I think is great for the tenants and consumers who utilize the program. It makes it great for them as far as choices, but it's also kind of aiding and pushing people into more of a rental thing as opposed to buying. Also, because the rental prices are so high, and I always say this, listen, if you're out here and you trying to get a property that's $2,500 a month in rent and you're paying first, last in security, even if you're paying first and last, you might as well put it towards buying a house. For many, people are paying small fortunes just to be able to rent a house when you could take that same money, maybe add a little bit to it. It don't take that much, but add some money to that and you'll be able to buy a property. So, but I think a lot of people got out of the home buying game, if you will, because it was so competitive and they were working with an allotted amount of money that maybe did not allow for them to be as competitive as they would have liked to get the type of house that they want. But the thing about renting is that we all know the rental market gets inflated too. All right. Sign number 9, economic uncertainty and job losses. Now, this is the biggie. As we came into the beginning of this year, as we shift administrations, me personally, I just sat and waited, and I always wait and say, we'll see what happens. But when we start to see massive layoffs, people being forced out of their jobs and things of that nature, that's when my ears peak up. That always gives me pause. So what we have to look to is in the government sector and see what's going on there. And it starts where people are being laid off in the droves and multiple numbers. That's when we need to be like, all right. Now, for those of you who own your home already, it may be a great opportunity for interest rates to drop and for you to refinance. For those of you who are looking to buy, you may want to really buckle down and save that money because interest rates will drop, but there will also be competition. All I'm saying is be mindful of what that employment do. What's that employment doing? Okay. In the America, what's it doing? Sign number 10, tightening of lending standards. If banks become stricter with lending, it limits buyers to access financing, reducing demand and slowing the market. And so, as I said before, that was the major thing that happened in 07 and 08, where they were definitely strict, had parameters and rules in place. I don't necessarily believe it'll get stricter because it's some great terms in place and rules in place and regulations. But you can see maybe certain mom and pop shop lenders may not take as much of a risk on certain people than others. So it's definitely a possibility. So those are the top 10 signs of what a housing market crash might look like. Okay, that we're headed there. And I'll tell you, if you notice, a lot of the majority of those things are happening now. But if you need to capitalize on whatever shift that happens, just make sure that you are not just financially prepared, but also mentally prepared for whatever the shift is. Listen, if you're interested in buying, selling, renting, liquidating some assets, whatever you need, I'm here for you. You can go to book.djmrealtyco.com. Again, book.djmrealtyco.com and contact me. Okay, that's all I have for you today. All right, no place like home buying, and I will see you guys next time. Maybe next week. We'll see. We will see.